Are you ready?
Yes.
Action.
What's up? So, in case you never realized, since some, 15 years ago, there's been a ginormous boom in Korean cinema, bringing us a lot of amazing movies. And by Korean cinema, I mean South Korea. Not so much North Korea, where, according to IMDb, they've only made a handful of feature-length movies in the past so many years. So no, the South is where it's at. So over time, I've seen a lot of really great South Korean movies, and I keep discovering new ones. There's one in particular that a lot of people know about, and that's also been recommended for me to review basically since day one. That, of course, is Old Boy, or Old Boy. But what some people might not realize is that Old Boy is only the second installment in a trilogy made by Chan-wook known as the Vengeance Trilogy. It's three, story-wise unrelated movies, but they're all based around the same theme of vengeance. After Mr. Park, the director Chan-wook Park, after he directed JSA, Joint Security Area, back in 2000, the movie was a enormous both critical and financial success. So after that he was basically given a, a total creative freedom ticket to make a next project. And that would be Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. Or, like that. The first and, probably the least well-known entry in the trilogy. So let's take a look. So, we follow this guy, a deaf mute with green hair. But that's the least of his worries, since his sister, to whom he's really close, is very sick and in desperate need of a new kidney. When they don't have a suitable donor available at the hospital, he turns to the black market and, that's always a bad idea. Especially when you have to meet up at a shady, although cinematographically interesting location where you have to pay with both a shitload of cash and on top of that one of your own kidneys. So yeah, he gets fucked over and is back to where he started. Well, minus his life savings and his left kidney, that is. Then, when they do finally have a kidney available at the hospital, he needs money, and fast. So together with his rebellious girlfriend, they decide to kidnap the daughter of a big business CEO in order to ask for a ransom. And although that seems like a comprehensive description of the movie's plot, it's really just a start. I won't spoil everything, but trust me, you'll get your vengeance served while watching this one. What some of you viewers might not know is that the second installment, Old Boy, that's been recommended like so often for me to cover as part of, one of the most disturbing movies ever made videos. But I never did that because I knew that one day I was gonna make this video. But anyway, yeah, so Old Boy is considered to be disturbing by people. And if that's so, maybe the whole trilogy could be considered to be disturbing. Let's see if that's the case for this one, Mr. Vengeance. First of all, it's no balls to the walls gore fest, like at all. If anything, it's way more an, dare I say it, an art film. With long shots, almost no music, artistic cinematography. Really, there isn't even that much violence in the whole movie. I mean, when it's there, sure, it's pretty out there, but it never feels too gratuitous. Long shots, like I just mentioned, it does make for a long movie, and at a little over 2 hours, it could have perhaps been shorter with a faster pace, but that really would have made it a completely different movie. You see, when I saw this movie for the first time, and that's years ago, after seeing both Old Boy and the third installment, Sympathy for Lady Vengeance, I always thought that this was, like the raw one. It's like not as polished, or definitely not as artistic as the other two. But after recently rewatching this movie again after a lot of years, I realized that that's not true at all. Because the cinematography is amazing. Well, it's perhaps not mind-blowing, it doesn't really make the movie. And, well, for me at least, there's just quite some memorable, almost iconic shots or scenes. Really, if you take your time to really sit for it, the cinematography together with the editing, it's really well done. But is it disturbing? I know it's really not the most important question while talking about this movie, but still, is it? It's funny how on Rotten Tomatoes a lot of critics criticize the movie for being overly violent and shocking just for the sake of being shocking. Maybe I just don't see it anymore after reviewing 50 videos worth of disturbing movies, but I didn't really think it was too much of any of that. Like I said, sure it can be violent, but I feel like that's really not the main focus at all. First and foremost, what intrigued me about the movie is its story and how it unfolds. It gets quite emotional and intense. And I love the fact that not everything is spoon-fed, you know, you sort of have to fill in some minor parts yourself. Although the voiceover at the very end is a little insulting to the viewers. But besides that, well, it's not like the movie really relies on big plot twists. It's just that the plot twists and turns a lot. In other words, you never really know what's going to happen next. And that's perhaps even better, you know? Because then if you rewatch the movie after a good while, there's a big chance that you've forgotten some of the plot points, which would make the movie exciting again. Something that is definitely less the case when you have a movie that has such a big plot twist that you'll never ever forget about it in your whole life. Which brings us to the next movie, Oldboy. Like I said, often recommended, although I've already talked about it quite a few times. First time was years ago when I made a video about my favorite movies. But even after that, I've talked about it in 2 videos where I talk about the Oldboy remake. So, one more time, Oldboy. Let's see. Quickly, the story. A man gets locked up for no apparent reason. That sucks. And then 15 years later, he is released, again for no apparent reason. That's a lot better though. And then from here on he goes on a quest to find out the identity of the person responsible for this. And then when he does, he's given 5 days to find out the reason behind his imprisonment. Otherwise his new love interest will be killed. Well, not as detailed description as the previous movie, but for now it's really all you need to know. I mean, it's a great setup, right? Well, like I said just now when I started talking about Oldboy, I've talked about this movie in the past where in a video where I had it listed as one of my favorite movies. Even though the video is like 4 years old by now, I would still consider Oldboy to be among my favorite movies. So one more time, let me try to explain why. First of all, the story. Unlike the other 2 movies in this trilogy, which are based on original screenplays, Oldboy is based on a manga. And while it was already a little the case with the first movie, this one is definitely larger than life. I mean, technically it could happen in real life, but it probably won't. But it doesn't matter, it's great. The story, it's mysterious, but it's interesting, it gets intense. And like I sorta said already earlier in this video, it comes with a big twist. Which I won't spoil, of course, although some say that stating something will have a twist is already a spoiler on itself. But I don't think so. I hope. It's really good though. And besides the story, the movie is just a treat for the eyes and ears. It looks and sounds great. Oh, I love it. The cinematography, once again, very well done. But the big show stealer for me in this one is the soundtrack. One of the few CDs that I actually own, the music just amplifies all the right emotions you go through while watching the movie. It adds so much to the overall experience. Yeah, it's really good. I never really know what to criticize about this one. I mean, it's a very well directed and produced movie with an interesting setup and an amazing payoff. I mean, what else do you want? Oh, and out of the trilogy, I guess this one is the most disturbing. It's quite violent, definitely more so than the first one. The hallway fight scene is classic. And although it can get a little graphic, the movie refrains from turning into a gore fest. Which is good, because it's something this movie definitely does not need in order to shock or whatever. So, in the end, while some plot points in the movie might seem a little far-fetched, it really isn't hard to suspend your disbelief while watching. You accept the story and how it unfolds while watching, and in this Oldboy universe, as I like to call it, it all makes sense, making watching Oldboy an overall intense and entertaining viewing experience. Unlike Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, Oldboy was upon its release both a critical and financial success. And not just only in Korea, but internationally, winning among a lot of other prizes the Grand Prix at the Cannes Film Festival, which is a very prestigious prize to win. So that's nice. And then he made the 3rd and final installment of the trilogy, Sympathy for Lady Vengeance. Let's see. This lady, let's call her Lady Vengeance, is released from prison after serving 13 years for the murder of a child. Now she's out for revenge on the man who actually murdered the kid and bribed her to confess to the crime. It's a lot more straightforward than the first 2 movies, although the movie itself is anything but straightforward. but that's mostly due to the structure. The movie keeps jumping back and forth from present time to her time in prison and then even before. In other words, the story is told in a very non-chronological order, which can be a little confusing during your first watch. This one also feels very different from the first two. Throughout most of the movie, it has a sometimes almost comedic feel to it, until it suddenly turns really sad and dark, grim towards the ending. But still, I would say this is the least violent one of the bunch. One scene in particular that could have been a complete gore fest shows virtually nothing and instead focuses more on the emotional and psychological aspect of that particular scene. Once again, great choice. Yeah, I like that. Overall, in all these three movies, they balance the violence really well. And I actually see that in more South Korean movies. It's like they can be really violent, but without turning into like mindless torture and gore movies that we've seen so much while going through all the disturbing movies videos. It's like, oh. So, that's nice. What's also nice is the visual style in this one. I know, for every movie in this trilogy I basically say the same, oh, great story and the cinematography is great. But this one switches it up a little bit with all these kind of, like graphical things and whatnot. Sometimes the movie even turns quite surreal, and it's not shy to break the fourth wall. All of which makes the movie pretty quirky, until, like I said earlier, it turns pretty dark later in the movie. I remember the Old Boy soundtrack. Well, after I've given the soundtrack to Lady Vengeance some more place, I've came to realize that perhaps, just perhaps, I might even prefer that one over the Old Boy soundtrack. I mean, it's really good. A lot of classical music and new arrangements, and it's really beautiful. It's emotional. It works in the movie. I'm glad I review movies because I'm so bad at talking about music. But it's really good. It's like, I wish I could have gone a little more in depth, but I just simply don't want to give too much away. And that basically goes for all three movies. I could have also just made this video like, yo, what's up gangsters? Vengeance Trilogy? Check it out. I mean, I fully recommend every single one of them. They're all amazing movies. I just wanted to sort of casually talk about the movies to make you a little more curious in case you haven't seen them yet or haven't even heard of them before. So, which one is the favorite out of the three for me? Well, I would say Old Boy. I mean, that's almost like the to-go answer. But then again, I've seen that movie so many times. And like I said earlier, when I rewatched Mr. Vengeance again after a long time, I was like, geez, that movie is really underrated. But then I hear the soundtrack to Lady Vengeance again and I'm all like, But, maybe that's the beauty of the trilogy. It's just a fantastic trilogy. Hollywood should take note. Oh wait, they already did. Because the director of this trilogy, Chan-wook Park, last year in 2013 he directed his first English language movie called Stoker. Maybe I should rewatch that one again, because initially after seeing it I was like, but now come to think of it, it actually had a quite interesting like mood, like atmosphere going on, so maybe I'll rewatch that one. Also, more recently he produced Snowpiercer, a mostly English language friendly movie that was actually directed by another great Korean director, Yoon Ho-bong. Man, well, I hope I pronounced it right, but probably didn't. Yeah, so that's all for now. Just my quick view on the Vengeance Trilogy. I know, pretty superficial, really not that much of an in-depth video this time. But it was on purpose, because really for the people that have not seen these movies, I wanted to be a surprise for you when you do actually watch them. So for the ones that have seen these movies, what were your thoughts about them or the trilogy as a whole? Let me know, and see you guys next time.